History is not only about great events, but also about the lives of ordinary people. Their homes, streets, transport, and habits shape the true image of an era. From the first stone structures to modern metropolises, each period leaves its mark. In this film, we will go through 3 different historical periods to see how the world has changed and what has remained unchanged. Let's begin our journey through time. The late 14th century, Europe is plunged into war, devastation, and political intrigue. During this time, important historical events occur that will change the world forever. But this period is marked not only by brutal wars, but also by significant social and cultural changes. While kingdoms fought for power and influence, ordinary people lived their lives, trying to survive in the harsh conditions of the medieval era. Urban markets and trade routes flourished despite the constant threat of attacks. Trade between cities and countries provided the necessary resources and fostered cultural exchange. The medieval era was a time of intellectual and cultural rise. Monasteries and universities became centers of learning and knowledge, where manuscripts, maps, and scientific works were created, laying the foundations for future discoveries. At the end of the 14th and beginning of the 15th century, there were many important discoveries and inventions that greatly influenced the development of humanity. During this period, watermills began to be actively used to drive mechanisms such as hammers and spinning wheels. This greatly accelerated production and improved technologies. Watermills were used for grinding grain and producing flour. They were also used for other tasks, such as sawing wood and forging metals. In the early 15th century, religion played a central role in the lives of Europeans. The Christian faith was the foundation of the worldview and cultural identity of most of the population. People sought comfort and hope in religious rituals and prayers. Church holidays and processions were important events in people's lives, where they could celebrate together and strengthen their beliefs. Holidays such as Christmas, Easter, and local saints' days brought together people of all ages and social classes. However, religion also became a source of conflict. Heresies, religious disagreements, and political manipulations led to persecutions and the Inquisition. During this time, there were persecutions of so-called heretics and so-called witches, resulting in tragic consequences for many people. The social structure also included judicial bodies and a system of punishments. Justice was often harsh, and punishments were severe. People could be punished for minor offenses, and public executions served as a means of deterrence. Minor crimes included petty theft, public drunkenness, and disorderly conduct. Punishments for such crimes included fines, time in the stocks, or even corporal punishment. Serious crimes included murder, treason, arson, and highway robbery. Punishments for such crimes were much harsher and included execution or mutilation. For minor crimes, such as fraud or petty theft, offenders could be publicly humiliated. They could be placed in the stocks or a pillory in the town square, where passers-by could throw rotten vegetables or stones at them. Alchemy was one of the most mysterious sciences of that time. Alchemists sought the philosopher's stone and the elixir of immortality, experimenting with various substances and chemical processes. Despite the lack of significant success in these quests, their experiments laid the foundation for the development of chemistry. Engineering and architecture continued to evolve. Builders created complex and durable structures, such as castles, bridges, and cathedrals. Construction technologies improved, allowing for the creation of impressive and long-lasting structures, many of which have survived to this day. For example, the architecture of the major Czech city of Kutná Hora. Let's look at some tricks medieval builders used to construct such grand structures. Lifting cranes with enormous wheels. In the Middle Ages, these wooden wheels, known as lifting wheels or hoist wheels, were used to lift heavy loads on construction sites. These wheels were powered by people walking inside them, like a giant hamster wheel. This allowed heavy stones and other materials to be lifted to significant heights. The rope attached to the load passed through a system of pulleys and was wound around a drum connected to the wheel. As the wheel turned, the rope wound around the drum, lifting the load. These lifting mechanisms were an important part of medieval engineering and allowed for the construction of tall buildings and structures that we see today. Gothic architecture is the most striking symbol of medieval Europe. The Gothic style emerged in the 12th century and dominated architecture until the 16th century. Here are some key features of the Gothic style. Pointed arches and flying buttresses. These elements help distribute the building's weight and give it a visual lightness and airiness. Flying buttresses support the walls and allow for taller structures with thin walls and large windows. Tall, narrow towers and spires. Gothic buildings are often adorned with high, narrow towers and spires reaching upward. This creates an impression of reaching toward the sky and spiritual elevation. Vertical lines. The geometric emphasis on verticality in all parts of the structures. Narrow and tall windows, columns and arches create an effect of reaching upward. One of the most recognizable features of Gothic architecture is stained glass windows. They are usually decorated with patterns and images. The stained glass allows light to enter the building, creating a play of light and shadow. Medieval fortresses and castles were important elements of defense and symbols of power. Fortresses were often built on elevated areas, such as hills or cliffs, to provide a good view and make it difficult for enemies to attack. Water bodies, such as rivers and lakes, were also used to create natural barriers. Deep moats were dug around fortresses, which were filled with water to create an additional obstacle. Initially, castles were built from wood, but over time they transitioned to stone, which was more durable and long-lasting. The walls were massive and high to protect against attacks and siege weapons. Towers were built into the walls to serve as observation and defense points. The towers could be round or square and were located at the corners of the walls or along their length. The main entrances to fortresses were protected by drawbridges and massive gates. The drawbridges could be raised to block access to the fortress, and the gates were reinforced with iron grills. Inside the fortresses were residential buildings, warehouses, barracks, and other structures. The inner courtyards were used for training and housing troops. These features made medieval fortresses powerful defensive structures that could withstand prolonged sieges and protect their inhabitants. The majority of people in Europe in the early 15th century were peasants. They lived in villages and engaged in agriculture. The main crops were grains such as wheat and barley, as well as vegetables and fruits. Peasant life was hard and modest. Their primary goal was to grow enough food for themselves and their families, as well as to fulfill corvée, labor on their lord's land. Peasants often banded together in communities, helping each other in difficult times and sharing resources. Peasant homes were simple, often built from wood and clay with thatched roofs. Inside there was 1 or 2 rooms where the family cooked, slept, and stored their belongings. Floors were often earthen, and heating was provided by an open hearth in the center of the house. Smoke from the hearth exited through a hole in the roof, as chimneys were rare at the time. In some regions, houses were built on stone foundations to protect against moisture. Peasants kept a small number of livestock in their homes year-round for warmth and convenience. Peasant diet consisted mainly of bread, porridge, vegetables, and dairy products. Main dishes included various types of porridge made from grains and vegetable soups. Meat was a rarity and was mostly consumed on special occasions such as holidays or weddings. Peasants also made cheese, butter, and curd from the milk of their cows and goats. An important source of protein was legumes such as peas and lentils. The primary beverage was beer, which was brewed in every home and drunk instead of water, as water was often contaminated. Peasant families worked from dawn to dusk. Men performed field work, including ploughing, sowing, weeding, and harvesting. Women managed the household, cooked, cared for children, spun and wove fabric, and also helped with field work. Children learned to help their parents from an early age, performing simple tasks such as herding livestock or picking berries. Year-round, peasants worked not only on their own fields, but also on their lord's land as part of corvée. This mandatory labor could include road construction, forest maintenance, and animal husbandry.
Many of you watch these masterpieces without subscribing to the channel. Please fix this so that YouTube algorithms work in our favor. Also, share your opinion about this content format. In the meantime, we move on to the next era.
The railway system played a crucial role in the exploration and development of the Wild West. Thanks to the railroads, people were able to overcome vast distances, transport goods, and create settlements along the railway lines. Steam engines powered the trains. The main fuel for steam engines was coal and wood, which were loaded into the furnace where they burned and heated water in the boiler. The resulting steam drove pistons that moved the train's wheels. Trains could transport both passengers and goods. Freight trains often included cars designed for various types of cargo, such as timber, coal, and agricultural products. Passenger trains, in turn, offered different classes of cars, from simple to comfortable salons for wealthy individuals. The railroads connected the east and west of the country, promoting trade between regions and stimulating economic development. Trains became symbols of progress and technological advancement, opening new opportunities for colonization and attracting thousands of settlers. Cities in the Wild West were bustling centers filled with unique elements and buildings. They consisted of several key structures, such as saloons, banks, telegraph offices, churches, and jails. Let's take a closer look at each of them. Buildings in the Wild West had bright and authentic architecture. Saloons served as places of rest and socializing for all residents, where one could drink, play cards, and hear the latest news.
Hey, one last drink.
Yeah, just one more.
Exactly. Oh. That's great, pardon. Lenny, where are you?
Banks were important centers of financial operations where money was stored and various transactions were conducted. Telegraph offices ensured communication with remote regions, and churches served as places of spiritual strength and community life. Each building had its architectural feature. For example, wooden constructions were most common, as wood was an available material at the time. Some buildings, such as banks and churches, were made of stone to ensure their durability and reliability. These cities appeared as symbols of the epoch. Streets were covered in dirt and sand, and buildings lined up along the main street where all life flourished. Later, with the development of technology and the economy, cities began to expand, acquiring elements of modern civilization. The wild nature of the Wild West was famous for its diversity and dangers. The variety of fauna and flora amazes even modern adventurers. Prairies and forests were full of various animals. Large mammals such as bison, deer, and cougars roamed there. Birds of prey like eagles and hawks soared in the sky, while on the ground, one could encounter bears, wolves, and even lynxes. Each of these animals played its role in the ecosystem and regularly intersected with the lives of settlers. The plant world was also diverse. Tall grasses, shrubs, and trees created unique landscapes. For settlers, plants served as sources of food, medicine, and building materials. However, the wild nature also posed dangers. Venomous snakes and aggressive predators constantly threatened people. Natural hazards weren't just living. Bad weather, strong winds, and droughts could lead to serious problems for farmers and settlements. Surviving in such an environment required ingenuity, courage, and constant vigilance. Cowboys became symbols of the Wild West and embodiments of the spirit of adventure and independence. These brave souls led a nomadic lifestyle, riding horses and herding cattle across the vast prairies and deserts. The daily life of cowboys was challenging and required numerous skills. They knew how to handle lassos, manage horses, and shoot accurately. Their attire often included wide-brimmed hats, leather jackets, and boots with spurs. Every detail of their gear was designed for protection against weather and comfortable work in the saddle.
There you go. Take it easy. Go. See? Easy, easy.
Horses held a special place in the lives of cowboys. These noble animals were faithful companions and the main means of transportation. Horses provided cowboys with mobility and speed. The breeds of horses used in the Wild West included popular types such as quarter horses, mustangs, and Tennessee walking horses. They were resilient and reliable, making them ideal for long journeys. Horses were expensive. Their purchase and care required significant investments. Cowboys diligently looked after their horses, providing them with quality feed and protecting them from diseases. This was crucial because, without reliable horses, life on the Wild West would have been much tougher. Famous figures among cowboys left a bright mark in history. People like Billy the Kid and Wyatt Earp became legends, and their stories are still admired today. Cowboys and their horses are integral parts of the culture and history of the Wild West, symbols of courage, freedom, and perseverance. Windmills were an essential part of the infrastructure of the Wild West. They were necessary for everyday life, providing water and energy for various needs. The primary use of windmills was to pump water from deep wells and reservoirs. They were used on farms to supply livestock with water and to irrigate agricultural land. The principle of windmills is based on the use of wind energy. The blades of the windmill capture the wind and transfer its mechanical energy through a system of gears and shafts. This energy drives pumps or other mechanisms that perform various tasks. The construction of windmills was quite simple but reliable. The main materials for construction were wood and metal. Windmills were placed on tall structures to maximize wind capture. The use of windmills contributed to the sustainable development of agricultural settlements and provided the necessary infrastructure. Windmills became an integral part of the Wild West landscape, symbols of the resilience and ingenuity of the local residents. The Wild West era was full of unique elements that recreate the atmosphere of that time. Let's look at some significant aspects of the culture and life that make this period so unforgettable.
Evening, Arthur.
Music played an important role in everyday life. In the evenings around campfires, cowboys sang their favorite songs, and in saloons, country music widely resonated, creating a unique atmosphere.
This town was fine without your trouble.
Let's play this game with a dumbbell handy.
Welcome back. Watch your damn self. Take it easy now. You think you're real scary, huh? We can handle these fools.
Wagons and stagecoaches provided transportation for people and goods across vast prairies and mountain areas. They were the main means of transportation before the advent of railroads. Wagons came in various types, from heavy freight wagons to light carriages for passengers. The culture and daily life of that time were characterized by distinctive details. Simple clothing, footwear, household items, and ornaments reflected the lifestyle on the frontier of civilization. Many of these items were handmade and added a special charm to people's everyday lives.
Seems easy enough, I think. How hard can it be? But I'll tell you what I think. Just to be safe, I'll do the reading and planning, and you do the building.
How did I know you'd try to weasel out of doing any work?
Now, that is plain unfair. It's inaccurate and not what's going to happen. I'm simply going to use what I've got, which is a brain. While you use what you've got, which is less of a brain.
Let's get started.
Ranches were an integral part of life in the Wild West. They were not only homes for families, but also centers of agricultural activity. Building a ranch required a lot of effort and ingenuity. Using available materials such as wood and stone, settlers built reliable homes for their families. Work on the ranch did not end with building the house. Ranch owners engaged in cattle breeding, growing crops, and providing everything their families needed. Life on the ranch was full of challenges, but also joy from the accomplished work and the peace of home comfort. In the video, we see the character building his house, creating a cozy home for his family. This was an important stage in the lives of settlers, symbolizing the beginning of a new path and hope for a better future.
My darling Abigail, I hope you and Jack are doing well. I remain a fool, and I'm sure I shall die a fool. But I'm trying very hard to be something like the man you deserve. I have done something very silly in an effort to impress you. And that is, I've purchased a home. The land you read about in the newspaper up at Beecher's Hope is now ours, and we are going to try our hand at ranching. Mr. Geddes kindly helped me buy the land. I met Uncle while I was coming out of the bank, and while I know your feelings about him, he has been enormously helpful in his own fashion. Charles Smith has also appeared and is unsurprisingly a pillar of strength. Together, we've built you a home. I hope soon to show it to you. I miss you and the boy more than I can express. Please, come back to me. Yours always, John.
In the 1930s, the streets of American cities became true arteries of life. This was the heyday of automobiles, public transportation, and tram lines. Despite the economic crisis, cars remained an essential part of American life. Companies like Ford continued producing affordable models, such as the Ford Model A, to attract buyers even in challenging times. In the 1930s, cars began to adopt more aerodynamic shapes. This was driven by technological advancements and manufacturers' desire to make vehicles more appealing. Chrysler Airflow is a prime example, one of the first cars with streamlined designs. During this period, innovations like automatic transmissions, developed by General Motors, and improved braking systems emerged. These advancements made vehicles more convenient and safer. Cars became symbols of freedom and status. Even during the Depression, people sought to keep their vehicles, sometimes using them as homes if they lost their houses. Car manufacturers like Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler played a key role in the US economy. They not only created jobs, but also stimulated the growth of related industries such as steel and rubber production. The racing scene of the 1930s in America was truly spectacular, filled with a passion for speed and innovation. This period saw the emergence of many iconic race cars. Racers earned money through sponsorship deals as well as prize winnings. For instance, winners of major races like the Indianapolis 500 received significant cash prizes. These sums could reach several $1,000s, a considerable fortune at the time. Moreover, racers often received support from car companies, which used races as a platform to advertise their vehicles. During this period, German racer Rudolf Caracciola set a public road speed record in 1938, reaching 432 kilometers per hour. This record wasn't broken until 2017. The design of cars during that time was inspired by the Art Deco style, making them not only fast, but also aesthetically appealing.
Man, I still go, 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 go.
Apologies for the editing liberties. Andre couldn't resist. It is impossible not to mention the concepts of that era, which became symbols of innovation and aesthetics. One such remarkable example is the Phantom Corsair, developed in 1938 by Rust Hines. This car, often referred to as the car of the future, had a futuristic streamlined design reminiscent of aerospace technology. Fully enclosed wheels and a low profile made it unlike anything else on the roads of that time. Despite its revolutionary approach, the Phantom Corsair remained a concept. Its high cost and unconventionality prevented mass production. And let's agree, if this car were released for mass production today, no one would claim the design is outdated. That's the 1930s. It's impressive. Equally impressive was the Henderson Streamliner, created by Orley Ray Courtney in 1935. This motorcycle stood out with its fully enclosed steel body in the Art Deco style, combining aesthetics and aerodynamics. Despite handling challenges caused by the heavy structure, the Streamliner became a design and innovation icon, opening a new chapter in motorcycle artistry. Trams became an integral part of urban infrastructure. They provided quick and affordable transportation between city districts. Trams were a popular mode of transport as they were cheaper than cars and could carry a large number of passengers, which was especially important during the economic crisis. By the 1930s, most trams were already electric, making them more environmentally friendly and efficient compared to steam or horse-drawn predecessors. Trams contributed to the development of suburbs, allowing people to live farther from city centers and commute to work using public transportation. The development of transportation infrastructure was a challenge for engineers in the 1930s. Bridges connected bustling districts, and innovative road interchanges helped cope with growing automobile traffic. Cities became increasingly interconnected and functional. American cities of the 1930s were not just a backdrop, they were a world pulsating with life, even in the dark hours. At night, New York transformed into a magical spectacle where tall skyscrapers and bright theater facades lit up, while neon signs reflected on the wet asphalt after rain. Times Square and adjacent streets were bustling with the sounds of jazz, cabaret, and continuous movement, thanks to nighttime operation of tram lines and viaducts, which kept connecting different urban districts even after dark. Night streets became a true arena where noir films drew inspiration for their dark and sensual plots. Even during the peak of economic hardships of the Great Depression, nighttime New York and Chicago did not lose their magnetism, gifting residents and visitors moments of genuine urban poetry.
Son of a bitch! Watch out! Get up, Polly! There's a taxi here! We'll be okay! Move it! Come on! Where to?
Anywhere. Fast.